Jody Sandberg to the stand. May I proceed?
You may.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can you please introduce yourself to the members of the jury, spelling your last name for the record?
Of course. Currently, I'm Jody Sandberg. Sandberg is spelled S-A-N-D-B-E-R-G.
And what do you do for a living?
I'm a professional journalist in Truman, Midlands.
And how are you involved in today's case?
Well, I was covering the Truman elections in 2015.
What do you do when you cover an election?
Well, mainly you look at the polls, see all the new candidates who are presenting themselves and campaigning at the time. From start to finish, we are there to cover all of the people, all of the polls, all of the news, everything that you can think of.
When did you start covering the election?
Well, I started covering the election in October of 2014, when Mayor Max Heisman was running her campaign of inevitability.
Mr. Sandberg, what is a campaign of inevitability?
Well, a campaign of inevitability is one where the person campaigning talks about why they're the best for the job instead of addressing their opponents. And that really made sense for Mayor Maxine Heisman when you really look at the poll data.
Well, how do you know that?
Well, the poll data that was presented to us, it told us that Mayor Heisman was up 28%.
Who is challenging Mayor Heisman in this election?
There were a couple names here and there, but the most important person was Elizabeth Ginger. She came out of the woodwork and was the dark horse of the race, if you will.
Who is Elizabeth Ginger?
Well, she was District 12's homebred candidate. She had a lot of support behind her, rallies, speeches, you name it. She was there, people were supporting. It was quite encapsulating, if you will.
When did Ginger become a strong opponent against Mayor Heisman?
She started to take footing in January of 2015.
And how did the two candidates proceed with their campaign strategies?
Well, they actually were forced to change their campaign strategies when they started going head-to-head. About 2 weeks before, both candidates, they really changed up how they were proceeding with their campaigns.
How exactly did the two candidates change their strategies?
Well, from what I saw, Elizabeth Ginger had all but pulled out of District 12, and Mayor Max Heisman, well, she took advantage of that.
What exactly do you mean by Ginger pulling out of District 12?
Well, you see, that's where Ginger's bread and butter was. She had all the support coming out of her own home district, but she became detached from her own district, where all of her support was at. And Mayor Max Heisman made sure to point that out.
How exactly did Mayor Heisman point this out?
Well, she more or less started to give ideas to the residents of District 12, where she said that Ginger was this elite candidate, an Ivy Leaguer, out of touch with the citizens of District 12. And that more or less really hurt Elizabeth Ginger.
How did the residents of District 12, from what you found, react to this?
Well, you have to understand District 12 in and of itself to understand its reactions. See, District 12 is the blue-collar, low-income, lower-educated district. And typically, from the historical polls, when they don't really see a candidate who can relate to them and their problems, they don't vote for that candidate, if they choose to vote at all. And
Objection, Your Honor, speculation. This testimony is going into the mindset of individuals in District 12, and this witness is not qualified to offer that testimony.
Your Honor, earlier when he explained what steps he takes in order to cover an election, one of which was interviewing the residents of District 12. Now, he can testify as to what they would do if they receive certain information.
You're going to testify that if he asks that, if he actually asks that question. So if you can establish that he asked that question to get that information, then proceed. If not, I'm going to sustain the objection.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, did you interview any of the residents of District 12 after this change of strategy occurred?
Absolutely. As I was talking to these residents after the strategy change, they seemed detached from Ginger, that they had lost their emphasis and they really weren't going to vote.
No objection, Your Honor, to speculation into the mindset of these people he interviewed. Although he interviewed them, that doesn't allow him to speculate into what they were thinking, what they were feeling about any given scenario. His testimony is still speculative.
May I respond, Your Honor?
Yes.
The witness said that when he interviewed residents of District 12, they seemed to be detached. This pursuant to Rule 701, he can testify to his rationally based perception, and this is what he perceived to be.
Can I respond, Your Honor?
Yes.
Pursuant to Rule 701, the witness may testify to specifically what he observed, what led him to those observations. However, he cannot speculate into what they were actually feeling, which is what the witness is doing.
It's a close call, but I also believe that 701 allows him to make a perception based on his observation in his interviews, and it appears that he's going to the perception that those people displayed.
Yes,
So
Your
I
Honor.
will overrule the objection.
Mr. Sandberg, how were the residents of District 12, based on your interviews, reacting to this change of strategy?
Well, like I said, they seemed quite detached. They had moved away from their extreme amounts of enthusiasm, and they had told me that they weren't going to vote.
Now, while covering this election, did you find any other publications about Ms. Ginger other than her Ivy League status and where she went to school at?
There were bits and pieces here and there that no.
Well, Mr. Sandberg, after this change of strategy occurred, what happened after that?
Well, as I said, the 2 weeks prior, these strategies had gotten worse, and then it got even worse once again the last week of the election.
How so?
Well, there was actually an audio recording that was leaked to the public, and it was Miss Ginger's voice, and she seemed to be saying some less than favorable things about her biggest support group, the low-income families.
After this tape was leaked, what happened with the election?
Well, ultimately, Miss Ginger ended up becoming extremely detached from her biggest support group, and Mayor Max Heisman took advantage of that and won the election.
Here, at this time, no further questions.